vibe.
That kick is pretty pronounced, isn't it?
pretty sweet. All right.
I got to bug Ken Wheeler again about getting us a custom song.
All of his jams are like, they're all like he's trying to woo a woman.
All of them, not a woman, all of them.
Yeah. he's like trying to like the white Kanye. He's trying to like sex it up. I don't know if he's the right guy for our thing. Sorry, Ken. We'll see him at React Miami. We'll chat with him then. Anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome back to another Remix live stream. We got our producer on the show today, Brooks. Brooks is normally hiding in the wings, but he's going to help us out today with a sweet demo of some of the stuff that we've recently shipped in the React Router 7 pre-release, which we're super excited about. So in case you missed it, we published a React Router v7 pre-release last week. I was actually on vacation when it was published, so I had nothing to do with it. Good job, team. But yeah, that was pushed out last week, and we're anticipating, just to get ahead of this question, because I know it's going to happen, we're anticipating final release probably sometime, like definitely sometime before the holidays. So, November-ish, probably first, second week in November is what we're shooting for with a stable release for React Router v7. That's pretty quick, but we want to get it out before the holidays hit so that, we're just not just sitting there baking the whole time. There's a lot of cool stuff in React Router v7. We've got routes.ts support. We've got really, really good stuff for type-safe routing. Some huge improvements there. We've introduced our own streaming format with TurboStream. We've also got pre-rendering, which I like as a term a lot better than static site generation. We've got some pre-rendering support in there, so you can just render out straight up HTML pages, put them in your public directory, and just render those. So those of you who have been following us for quite a while, you know that that's a bit of a departure from the way that we started out with Remix. When we started with Remix, we were like, SSR everything. It's so much better. What happens when you have dynamic data on the page? Then your static pages fall down. React Router v7 is a hybrid approach, right? You can pre-render some stuff. You can dynamically render all the rest of your stuff. So we think it's a really, really solid solution for anybody who's been doing React for, if you've been on React, good chance you've been on React Router for a very long time. So exciting time to be using React Router. Ryan, do you have anything you wanted to comment on with v7 before we throw it over to Brooks for a demo?
We did what we said we weren't going to do. We were like, let's just bring over the Vite plugin and the server rendering to React Router, and that's it. And then we got not sidetracked. We were like, let's make this really, really good. Let's do all the things we know we want to do next. Let's just do them. Pre-rendering was one of those. We've been calling it fog of war or lazy route discovery, single fetch, which allows you to optimize stuff on the back end more. Anyway, yeah, there's a handful of like small things that aren't going to get a whole lot of highlighting in our, marketing and stuff, but like a lot of just nice little things. And I'm glad we did it. Yeah, we could have had this release out like 2 months ago, but it wouldn't have had all this good stuff. And we really want people to, and the type safety. Oh my gosh, the type safety. That's what has probably taken the longest for us. And it's a lot easier to build something from the ground up with type safety rather than bolting it onto a current API. Yeah. So it's pretty tricky. But it's really good. As I've been playing with the pre-release, it feels so nice. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I was a little nervous about like pushing back, getting some of these features over to React Router from Remix, but I'm glad we took our time and found the most like some really compelling stuff, so that when people upgrade, it feels really good, whether you're coming from React Router v6 or you're coming from Remix. There's a lot of reason to come over. So yeah, I'm pumped about it.
Sweet. Dude, is that like a right-handed or a left-handed guitar?
I'm left-handed when we're on a stream.
It's a mirror. Yeah. Dang.
Sorry, somebody in the comment stream said nice facts, and I was like, he's right-handed. He's not left-handed. Why does he have a left-handed guitar?
Is that better?
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is weird for me now, though, because like I'm not looking in a mirror and my beard feels like it's going like, oh wait, no, that way.
Oh, sideways?
Yeah, it feels like it's going side. It's like,
Oh,
did it really go sideways?
All right, sorry, total.
Okay, Ryan's like, this is gonna be the best version of React Router ever. We've done so much work to migrate it all. Do you have a left-handed
And
guitar?
Michael's like, that's a left-handed guitar. What's going on? You know what? The first songs I ever learned were Nirvana Unplugged, and he was a lefty with a right-handed guitar, but he just strung it upside down, right?
Yeah.
So I bought a left-handed guitar and strung it upside down, and I play it right-handed.
He was a lefty. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you know the Atari's lead guy? He's left-handed, but he just plays a right-handed guitar, but he just does all the chords upside down. Like his low E string is the bottom string. He literally he does. It's so weird.
And then he just.
Yeah, all his power chords kind of look like he's doing like a C chord, like, right? So instead of like, I can't do it right. Anyway.
Crazy.
Yeah. I saw them live a few months ago, and I know some of their songs on guitar, and I was watching him play, and I'm like, what on earth is he playing? Like, that's not how. And then I realized, oh my God, his guitar's upside down.
That's funny. That's funny.
I can't handle this. I gotta switch it back.
Actually, we played with the Ataris when I was a kid.
Serious?
Yeah, they came to Bakersfield and we opened for them.
That's awesome.
I'm from Bakersfield, California. There was quite a music scene in Bakersfield. Anyway, they came to town and we opened for them. All right. Anyway, enough of the shenanigans about guitars and stuff.
Well,
Brooks, do you want to show us? Do you want to walk us through a little bit of this? And then I'm sure Ryan and I will interject a lot along the way, particularly about the type safety stuff that Ryan mentioned. We went like, we've been all over the map.
We went to the moon and back.
Like there was a point where like just to get type safety, we were going to introduce like a completely different way for defining routes. And then like anyway, we'll discuss it as we go through it.
Oh man, I lost our faces. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, definitely interrupt me as we go. My plan is just to kind of pull up our template, kind of show you how the getting started experience is, and then just highlight some of these features we've been talking about. So for now, again, these docs also, like, just big disclaimer, these are not finished. We've had multiple people point out where stuff is like not finished, and we try to call that out as explicitly as possible. But we are.
Yeah, click the back button.
Yeah. Oh.
Up there.
Right here. Yeah. We just need to make this super big, like way bigger.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you put information. Like, millions of people will miss it.
Someone linked me and said, "Are these docs finished?" And he sent me this specific one, and I was like, just screenshotted this. I was like, no, I'm sorry, it's not like
you can't make all important information bigger.
No. So yeah, getting started right now, we have like one starter template. I'm sure we'll add more and whatnot, but this is just like the basic simple starter template, and we're using Dagit right now. Eventually I imagine this will just be like the VTLI, but this is just like a little cloning thing. So just blindly copy and paste stuff. That's what I always do. And we'll open this up and see what we get.
dgit.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. I might have had
it.
It
thing for me, please. It's on Git right now. I want you to dgit it for me.
There we go. Okay,
Ungit.
cool. Ungit.
Should be called unget. That would be, yeah.
All right, so you can see this is actually running. We already are up to pre-1, so we've already released a second pre-release to fix a couple bugs, which is good. So yeah, just running npm install, basic stuff, and then we'll kind of walk through this. So if you, yeah, let's see. So we can load this up, and then, hey, there we go. Welcome to React Router. Sweet. All right, so first thing I figured we'd talk about is the routes.ts file. We've talked about this a number of times, but we're changing how routing works again, or rather making it via code a little bit more the default.
We already had this. We just made it even better.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, it's just pointing to you can just tell it like, oh, what file should be rendering or should be running for this route. And the file looks the exact same as like Remix. You have all these exports, everything you'd expect, meta, index. This actually isn't an export. You can have your error boundary here, all that stuff. So if we want to add another route, we could set this up with like, what is it? It's like at React router / FS routing or something.
Yeah,
we have a routing convention that will like work exactly how Remix worked with that flat file convention. And I'm sure more people will make others. You can use, Killiman's like flat routes. You can use all those things. But for now, we're just going to kind of manually do this. So I'm going to add like an about page. And yeah, something really basic. Doesn't really matter. And then in routes, if we want to add this, we're going to pull from here. We have all these little helpers. So like route and whatnot. And all these just create an object. That's all it's doing. It's kind of like how JSX works, where it's just like creating this object underneath the hood. So this isn't really that magical. It's just a little helper. And then you give it whatever you want the route to be. So like /about in this case. And then you give it your, what did I call it? About.tsx, whatever your actual like route file is. I don't think I have to do the /. And then that should hook everything up. And if we go to about, yeah, there you go. You can see about. So pretty basic routing. I think we've showed this a number of times, even talked about it maybe on the last stream. Yeah, pretty cool. But what's really cool is what you keep talking about, Ryan, is the type safe routing. So if we're on this about page.
Hey, Brooks, just for fun, why don't you cruise over to the docs and look at the sample route config so people can see how nice this actually looks?
Yes.
When you have a handful of routes.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So yeah, you get like, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not sure people are going to want their file system conventions once you try this for a little while. I think you're going to, because then you're like the optional paths and the params and
you're free now.
Everything just looks so much better.
You're free now.
Yeah.
You don't have to like translate. Oh, let's see. What does that route path look like in a file system?
Yeah.
Like a file name.
Yeah. Do I use parentheses?
And what is the leading underscore and the trailing underscore and none of that? You don't have to think about any of that.
Why don't they add a dot thing for who knows what?
Just code, dude. Just code.
Yeah. That's just like, this is just a helper to add a prefix of concerts in like front of each of these. Yeah. So this returns it. But this is something I really love. Like it's so composable. So if you wanted, you could have a bunch of routes files like per like feature or per team or whatever. And so not saying you should do this, but if everyone wants to just come up with their own convention, you can kind of spread them all out and then have this central like routes.ts just compose all of your different route configurations. It's incredibly flexible, and you're not bound to whatever your file, path can be.
Yeah, that's just an array. So that like you can just spread routes that you imported from a different folder into it. All the admin routes, ... Here they all are. All the login routes, ... Login routes.
It's just an array.
Yep. Yeah, and it just turns into
you know how to compose arrays.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You're a
programmer. You do this all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm super excited about it. Cool. Yeah.
Sorry for the.
No, that's great. That's what I hope for. It's distractions. Okay, so let's add like a loader. And we'll return whatever it wants me to. Yeah, hello world. That's fine. So in Remix right now, even in React, the way you would get this right, you would do exactly what Cursor is telling me to do. You do use loader data, type of loader, and that infers what your data is. but we've actually gone ahead and made it even easier. We're still like improving the entire DX of this. Whoops. But you can just import. I got to do it first and then talk about it. Sorry. From this like plus types, this like magic thing. Not magic, but this code gen is like where the types come from. We'll talk about like what's going on there in a second. So then you can just say route dot, what is it, like component props?
Yeah.
And then you get a couple things. You get a loader data, you get params, which is nice. So only the params that would be, which in this case, there's going to be none, you would get, and then action data. And this will, if you have a loader and a client loader, it will like tie them all together. I can show that in a second.
Oh, good.
So now we can just get, about hello world. So we just have our loader data, which is great. And then if we
look at how that loader data is typed though, right? Just yeah. Look at how that's typed. I want to just take a second to appreciate this, right? If anybody's using, I'm sorry, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit here.
No, that's good.
You get the loader data and blah, blah, blah. I want to pump the brakes here just a little bit, right? What did we do here? No more use loader data hook. Like use loader data is just gone. And
it's not gone. It's still there. Don't freak out.
Well, your app is
unnecessary. Yeah,
you can still put the use loader data in your code if you want, but really, why would you? Yeah. Right? When you get this prop that's called loader data, use loader data. Maybe if you just showed them like the way that you use the hook, right?
Yeah.
You'd say use loader data, and then in order to get type safety in there, we would put type of loader in the generic to use loader data in between the brackets, right?
Which might be wrong. Like it might not even be.
That's especially with like client data. That's what we started running into.
Yeah, you're literally just saying like, hey, use loader data. I know you've got a return type, and instead of inferring it, I'm going to tell you what it is with this generic here. So here's type of you would say type of loader, and you're basically like. You're basically, like Ryan said, it might not even be the truth. You're basically just overriding whatever inference might have happened at some point. You're just saying,
I was refactoring
all that, use this. Right?
I was refactoring our docs, and we had some use loader datas that were like type of some other random function. And I'm refactoring, and then all of a sudden, like my types were fine, but the app busted. Where this, you could still make a function that does that, right? But like, it's not going to be right with this loader data when you try to use it. Those two are going to be the wrong types.
Yeah. So you can see here, you inject or you add a client loader, and then you're returning that. Well, your loader data is going to tell you like, hey, message might not be there. That was just for the server.
Now do client loader dot hydrate equals true.
Oh, hon, you guys keep rushing through.
I know.
Just take a second to appreciate
how useful
what we just discussed, right?
Right. This is broken at this point.
So what is client loader? Client loader is like all the way back to the beginning. Client loader is this loader that runs in the client, doesn't run on the server, right? Runs in the browser. So on the initial render of this component, you've got loader data. Because we server rendered the thing, we went to the database, whatever, we ran the loader, we got the data. Here's your data. Okay. Page renders, right? We might not have the client message yet. We might not have it. That's why
we call that when you do a client navigation to this page.
Yeah. There's multiple ways that you could get to this page. Either you go directly to it and we SSR'd it. We ran the loader on the server. We SSR'd the page. We gave it to you. Or you already had some other page loaded, you clicked a link, and now you're at this page, and we're like still doing the fetch, right? In either case, we're not sure that we've got client message yet. And we reflect that in the types.
Yep.
Right? So the types are, I just want to, sorry, again, to pump the brakes.
No, that's great.
Take a second to appreciate that. Like that's detail. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. And then Ryan, what did you wanted me to add?
Say client loader dot hydrate equals true. So now what this says is we're going to call the server loader on the server, but we're not going to server render that yet. We're going to have that the server loader data, which can come into the client loader as well. Right. You get
nope, I did the wrong one. Client loader args, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then this will give you the server loader, and you can call that to get the server data if you wanted to.
Yep.
But then when we say client loader dot hydrate true, we say, okay, we rendered from the server. We didn't render this component. We did the hydrate fallback. Now we're going to call the client loader because maybe you want to have a combination of like data from your server, and then you've got some auth thing that you want to go and get auth from somewhere else, or they only have a client API, or you just have it in local storage and you just want to like put these server stuff and local storage together, right? Yeah, exactly. And so hydrate true says, hey, make sure that we get both the server data and then we call the client loader and then put them together. And so what's really cool about this is now go to the loader data type. Oh
no, we didn't support it like this, Ryan.
Yeah, we have a different. How do we do it?
It's
changed so many times. I forget which iteration.
Well, because it's impossible to infer the type based on something that you do dynamically. Like this client loader dot hydrate true.
But we have some for this.
No, so I think there's a new export. Pedro would know.
I know, or Matt. If Matt's on the stream, he would know.
Pedro would know. It's like, but we have to be able to infer it statically. Pedro and I talked about this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to remember what it looked like.
Isn't it just a separate export using both loaders?
The hydrate fallback? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's not the hydrate fallback because that's
it's like an actual.
Well, we'll find it.
There was a part in the docs that said using both. Yeah, using both.
Oh yeah, these docs are actually wrong. I need to fix these anyway. This is all incorrect. I meant to fix this before.
All right. Well, we will have a way for that.
Antiquatic. Oh wait.
Oh, Matt says export.
Matt is saying export hydrate. Yeah, that's what I was.
Oh,
yeah. That's you, Brooks.
Let's see.
What for a hydrate fallback?
No, it doesn't fix it though.
No, move on.
Okay, something that will be better. That we definitely.
I thought I was talking to Pedro once, and we got that to then say only the stuff coming from client loader.
In this situation, you're correct. Like if this is true and this is running, this should never have the loader data.
Yeah, it should just be client message.
Only render the hydrate. So this is just a bug at this point.
I can't remember how to get it to do it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I think it's just something we need to fix.
But still, that's a cool type.
It is really neat.
That's a cool type. So you got loader data in there, and it comes in as a prop. You got action data that comes in as a prop. If you've got an action in your component,
let's go add a param to the path on this about page. So like about/profile or something.
Yeah.
So you want to look at someone's profile on some website.
Cool. So now we got a 404. You can go to like 1, 2, 3. And then in any of these, I mean, even just here, you can say, let me give myself some room here.
Now, while he's typing that, notice he didn't go to the CLI and type like React Router type gen or anything like that.
We're going to go into that. That's
cool.
What are my params? Is it dot? It should just be
a beautiful profile. Error page from Veet.
There we go.
Hey.
Man, it works, but why?
Well, that's why it's a pre-release.
Oh gosh. I know it is why it's a pre-release.
What's the type of your params? Check your params.
Yeah, it says just here. Let me even go in here. Oh gosh,
params.
It's just like route.params, which is incorrect.
What about the loader? Does the loader have it right?
Yeah, let's try it.
It's funny. We've all played with this and gotten it to work.
I know. It's it's because this thing is still just a little bit off, I think. Yeah. See, it didn't pick up those params when I changed this.
Restart the Veet server.
Try restarting Veet.
Veet shouldn't be the one that does it, but I will try it.
Yeah, that's right. It's a TypeScript plugin.
I know. It's still
restart TypeScript.
See, there it is. So maybe that did fix it. All right. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
Yep. Pre-release, definitely still some work. Also, Pedro released this and then went on a well-deserved vacation, which is great. So we have a lot of bugs we're piling up for him. All right. So now it does.
Yeah, so
work as expected.
Hover over the params over there. Yeah. Oh, I guess it doesn't show you.
That's weird.
Like a prettier on it.
Yeah.
So the idea is that, I mean, if you go up to the very top line of this file, import star as route from / plus types .about.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, let's talk about what the heck is going on
For sure. Yeah.
on this line, right? So / plus is that so basically what's going on is we wrote all of the type safe stuff as a TypeScript plugin, as a plugin for TypeScript.
Yep.
So if you pop open your tsconfig.json, you'll see it there. Plugins React Router /dev. Okay. So since it's running as a TypeScript plugin, that means anytime that TypeScript is running or type checking your files in your editor, when you open up your editor and you're editing a TypeScript file, TypeScript is now running. And the side effect of running this plugin is that it is generating files in a directory, in a dot directory called .react router. Okay, so in this case, it's generating files out into .react router /types. So again, just by virtue of the fact that TypeScript is running, that it's looking at your code, that it's checking your code, this plugin is now running and having this side effect of generating these files. Okay. The other part, so we generate the files with that plus at the beginning of them to kind of indicate that they're special. Yep. And I think this is like a convention that we pulled from Svelte. I think Svelte does it this way.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
I think it's similar to the way that they do it. But if you look in the routes in your tsconfig right there on line 30, okay, we've got, you got it open right there. Okay. So we've got dot, which is, just
the directory.
Routes is basically telling TypeScript, when I import things, these are the directories that I want you to look relative to. So relative to the current directory, and then also relative to .react router /types, which is where we're kicking out all of those files, right? So back to your file, back to your code file, right? So when you're importing /plus, that is actually using the .react router /types root.dir and finding the file there that is types .about.d.ts, right? The declaration file for the about route. Yeah. So that's where it's pulling from, and so so there's a little bit of the behavior that Brooks just showed where like he had to restart the Vite server. I'm not sure why that happened, but
it's weird because this should just be using you have to do all this stuff in VS Code, and it does run this manually.
Right.
But people even in the comments, I'm seeing people say that they are like, oh, you need to rerun this type gen. You actually don't have to run this, like Ryan was pointing out. I've never run this.
As I've played with this, I've changed my routes and so
I've actually never.
It's fine.
Yeah, I've never manually run React Router.
Yeah,
the demo gods are tempting us.
No, you shouldn't actually have to run type gen. It should just automatically be running by virtue of the fact that you've got files open and TypeScript is doing its thing. TypeScript is checking the files.
Yeah, and I can even show it by I delete this.
So anyway, that was a bit of a blip, but that's basically how the system is working. And like I said, we've been all over the spectrum about how this should work. If we should have a manual type gen command that you need to run, or if it should happen automatically, if we should go one step further and not even make you import something, but just try and infer everything automatically. But I really think that this is kind of the sweet spot where, there's not a whole lot of stuff that's implicit that's going on here, right? We're just working with the tsconfig. You know how tsconfig works. You can look in there and you can see the plugin. You can see the root.dirs. You can look at the top of your file. You can see the import for the types that you're importing, right? So there's not a whole lot of magic that's going on here. Literally the only magic part is, because I despise magic in code, because then when stuff breaks, then you don't know how to fix it. So I'm basically just trying to demystify this, right? So if something is broken, you can literally just pop open that .react router /types directory and take a look at the type, just like Brooks did, right? He went and looked at the type and realized, oh, the type wasn't updated. Maybe the server's not running, or maybe that plugins for some reason hasn't kicked out a new file yet, right? So restart the server and figure it out. So just want to kind of break it down for people so they understand like what they're looking at, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of implicit stuff that we all understand that we're
Yeah.
as we're debugging this. That's how it's all working.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. And
But
yeah,
it's I mean it's not a whole ton of magic. I think you've got all of the right touch points to like debug this stuff and to look into it if something isn't working how you would expect. The way that we anticipate it working is you're literally just importing from that types directory. You're using the types, and then you never actually have to run a type gen command. It just those files just automatically update because TypeScript is doing its thing.
Yep.
Which also means like if you're running, like you're testing or whatever, like anytime TypeScript is running, it's not just like, oh, am I developing this app? It's literally any TypeScript anything is going to trigger that.
Well, yeah. So I think those plugins only run. I think TypeScript plugins only run when I don't think TSC runs those plugins. So like if you run the TSC CLI from the command line,
Yeah.
I don't think it runs. I don't think it'll kick out those files for you.
I'm like 2 conversations in my head behind that I had with Pedro about this stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think well, but to your point,
yeah,
like the type checking that you're when you're editing your test file or when you're editing your implementation file, when you're in either of those situations, yes, that TypeScript plugin should be running and kicking out those types and keeping them up to date for you. So
yeah,
so we just need to
that's
how it should all work, and that's how it has been working. We just saw a blip, not sure about where that came from, but we'll figure it out. But that's the intended use, and that's how it should work.
Yep.
You don't have to run type gen.
Cool. And yeah, just real quick, I'm noticing some comments of people saying, "Oh, I prefer React Router V7 with less features. I just wanted the SSR. I just want the plugin for SSR. Everything we're showing is optional, pretty much.
Yeah, dude.
Like
don't use it.
Yeah, if you don't like it, don't use it. But yeah, everything. We're not like getting rid of stuff. We're not doing this in disfavor of something else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's not. This isn't like an all or nothing scenario.
Yeah. The only difference here is you can either put that type up there on client loader and the default function and the loader up there and get types, or not. Like,
I mean, honestly, though, if you're a
use it,
TypeScript developer, if you're using TypeScript, I think you'd be crazy not to use this stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, people have been complaining that we don't have type safe
like
routing.
it's so much more ergonomic than
I don't know why you wouldn't put it there, but
than anything else that we've published in this space. So yeah,
all right.
But again, it's just dev time stuff. It's just TypeScript stuff. Don't use it if you don't want it. If you're a JavaScript developer, JavaScript is the future.
Yeah, you don't have to use any of this.
.js. By all means, don't use it.
All right. I lost my train of thought. What were we gonna?
Sorry. You were.
You're good. This is.
We got loader, client loader. We got action.
Stuff to go through. Yeah. You got action. You got your client action. Actually, while I'm here, like, let's talk about what people are talking about. Like, oh, I don't. Even I saw someone today saying like, I don't actually want server side rendering. Like, is React Router just making me do SSR? You can just change this defaults, and now everything is going to be client rendered now. You need to change a couple things, like you don't have loader and you don't have action because those are server only features. But now if we remove these, you can have just your spa and just works the way you'd expect. Well, of course you can't have bugs.
A little syntax error. There you go.
Beyond that. Yeah, there you go.
So okay, hold on. I'm going to pump the brakes again.
Yeah.
What? All I did was I went into my Vite config where I'm running the React Router plugin, and I said SSR false. What does that do? Just takes away our server only features, right?
Yeah. No more loaders, no more actions. Use client loaders and client actions.
Yeah. You can't use the server only features because you said SSR false.
Now I want to back all the way up to what Brooks said, where it's like, oh, I don't want all of this stuff. Go over to the docs and go to installation.
Oh yeah.
And scroll to the bottom. yeah, manual. Or wait. I think it's the first paragraph. I moved it.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Oh, no, I didn't.
It's all right.
Oh, geez. I can't remember.
It should be
on the
this.
left side. Yeah, manual usage. There we go. You don't need to use any of this V to anything. You don't need to use these route modules with loaders and client loaders and SSR true, SSR false. Like, you don't need to use this Vite plugin. So scroll down to that. Like, you just install React Router as you always did. And we still have browser router. We still have routes. We still have route path. Like, everything that the Vite plugin does and the server rendering does, all that stuff already exists in React Router. But in order to do server rendering well, you're going to have to figure out data. So that's why we have loaders. In order to do bundle splitting well, you're going to need some sort of routing and some entry points to decide how to split up all of those routes. You're going to need a manifest to go and figure out the route discovery. So all these features already exist in React Router. They're just, to get to them, you just have to like do a bunch of your own bundling and server stuff and data loading. So we brought that stuff over from Remix to React Router, but React Router still works exactly how it did in V6 and V7. None of those, we didn't get rid of any APIs. So as long as you're caught up on any like small behavioral changes that we did in V6 to V7, like we did some path matching on splats and a couple random things. But if you get all those future flags updated in V6 to V7 is completely non-breaking.
But Ryan, somebody on Reddit told me that React Router breaks their API all the time and they change it.
Well, I was a young man when we started and we've done it twice.
What would you say to that person?
I would say, how many decades is okay to go without a breaking change? Because we've gone half a decade without a breaking change.
You released a breaking change after 5 years. How dare you, sir?
I installed this in my early 20s and I upgraded in my early 30s and you broke an API.
My 6-year-old app no longer works on the latest code. How dare you?
Yeah, so there's actually only one future. If you're not doing any server rendering or anything like that, you really only need that relative splat path. Relative splat path, that's the only breaking change from V6 to V7 if you aren't like using fetchers in a data router.
These are
that's it. So the majority of React Router apps just turn that on, and they probably don't even depend on that weird behavior. I mean, a bunch of them do, but most don't. But turn that on, and then you can just upgrade, and your whole app will continue to work as it did before. So it really is a non-breaking update. And then we like I said, all those features already exist in React Router, like bringing in routes lazily, client loader, or just loaders in general. Just all these features, they exist in React Router. They're just hard to get to because you need server features and you need bundler features. So that's what the Vite stuff and the server stuff is. And so you can adopt that stuff, but this is a completely non-breaking change from V6 to V7. So everything we're showing you so far, you do not need to use in order to upgrade to V7, but you can adopt it if you want to.
Yeah, I don't mean to make light of the breaking changes. Like, that's a serious thing and it causes pain for people. But
it's such a meme though with React Router that like it just pisses me
now
off when anyone even says
people
it.
just
Like,
say
go to
it,
hell,
like,
man. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, people just say it because like they're not informed. And they're lazy and they're just like, well, I just want to trash on something because I like some alternative framework. So I heard React Router has breaking changes, barf. And it's like, well, actually, I want people to know, like people who are tuning into the live stream in particular, to know that we actually spend a ridiculous amount of time thinking and talking about like, how are we going to make this upgrade path smooth for everybody? We spend a ridiculous amount of time talking about that.
That's why
it like dominates every conversation, the future flags and the everything. So like, we just want you to know that we're thinking about this a lot.
And if you do if there are things that we are breaking, please give specific examples and how we have not addressed it or how we don't have a migration path. That's way more helpful than just saying, I heard that they always break things. Like, the least useful conversation you could possibly
Lazy.
have with us. Is telling
Lazy.
it, like,
I'm going to call anybody who says that. I'm going to say you're lazy unless you give me a specific example.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. We love specific.
It's so ridiculously untrue at this point. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's just completely moronic, and those people need a therapist or something because they just hate their lives and they're just trying to trash on other people.
I'm going on the offensive.
Yeah, I am. I'm like, it's so stupid. It's so
all right.
stupid.
Let's talk about pre-rendering. I think we need a new topic. So as was mentioned, Remix for a really long time. You guys resisted static site generation. That was kind of all the rage. Also, when Remix came out, everything was like static site generation, to the point where, like, I've just seen some insane apps where people would like static site generate like just thousands of pages, all based on data. And to anytime any single thing changed, they'd have to like rerun the whole thing. And then they introduced all this crazy complex caching in their CI/CD. And so Remix was a nice like correction to go the opposite way. And I was not on the team when all this happened. Like, this is really my version of even the history a little bit. I really appreciated it. It really got my team and a lot of people I knew out of just thinking everything had to be static site generated. But it is nice sometimes to have the ability to pre-render a page that is not going to change very often and does not rely on data. So this homepage, for example, obviously it's very simple, but a lot of homepages, like even the Remix one, there's not a lot of like data on this page necessarily. Like, there is data, but it's not data we're changing. Like, this is pretty static for the most part. It's interactive, but the actual assets themselves. So we've added this. Super easy. This is just another Vite thing. So pre-render. First, you can just say true, and this will just find everything that doesn't have like a param in it. And it will just like it'll create HTML assets.
Yeah, so any URL that has no like dynamic params, if it's just like a static string of like about, contact, and all that kind of stuff, we'll just find all those and pre-render them.
Yep. So it'd skip about in this case because we have profile, and it's like, I don't know what to do with that. That's dynamic. That could be so many different pages. That could be infinite pages. Whereas home, it's like, that's only ever going to be home. You're not passing a param to that. But you have a lot more kind of control over this. So you can basically just pass URL parameters, or rather, URL paths to this to tell it like what you want it to run over and pre-render. So in this case, I'm just going to do the / like the home and pre-render that because about now has some data. But you could do, of course.
But just to be clear, in this case, that's not actually necessary, or is it?
Well,
in order to pre-render the homepage, is it necessary to put this on?
I'd either need to do true, or do the /
Okay.
If he does true, then it'll do every single static page, static URL.
I just want to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you say pre-render true, that makes sense.
Yeah. So one use case that I was kind of thinking of, since we're at Shopify, is put some URLs in there. So we could like pre-render / and then we could have like / featured, right? Right. So maybe we have like some featured products and we don't change them that often. We just don't want to do it per deploy. And then you could have look, we got like two of them. Like, we sell 2 products. Those are our most popular products. And so you can just do like /product1 /product2. And then all the rest of the product pages are going to be totally server rendered and dynamic. But here, product 1 and product 2, you could pre-render because you know that those are like it's just, you just have the flexibility to make these kinds of decisions of like, it's not about whether you have a loader or don't have a loader, or static URLs versus dynamic URLs. It's literally just give us a handful of URLs and we will pre-render them.
Yep. You can even do stuff like this. You can have a function that goes ahead and figures out, hey, whenever I build this, what are the URLs that I want? And let's go ahead and pull them out and just make them. This is just going to run at build time, but you can have it data driven if you really want it to be.
And it pre-render can be an async function, so that you can actually like go to a CMS or go to some data source, like Gatsby Node for people that used Gatsby. Gatsby Node allowed you to like go find a bunch of URLs and then pre-render a bunch of stuff. So it's a lot like that, where
I think there's a good example in here. This is even better than what I'm trying to write.
So pre-render, you could go get your posts. Maybe they're just a bunch of markdown files, or maybe they're in a CMS or something like that. Maybe they're on WP Engine or WordPress. I don't know. And then you could get
Those
your
are not
static
the same
tab.
thing, Ryan.
Oh, what? Really?
WP Engine is not affiliated with WordPress.
Yeah. So really flexible. It's literally just like give us URLs. And what I think is so cool about pre-render is that it's like 20 lines of code for React Router to do this.
That's awesome.
Because what we do is we pull in, because we create a request handler out of your app. We look at all your routes. We make a server request handler. That's really just an async function that we pass. We get a request from the user's browser. We pass that request to your app. And so during pre-rendering, we just make a request. We just say new request and throw it at all of the URLs that you gave us. And then we take the output HTML and data of that and put it in the static directory. Super cool. So that allows it to work whether during the build or during the actual request cycle of a user. And there's not a separate API for getting that data. It's all just your loader. Either the request is coming from React Router during build or the request is coming from a server. But it's the request either way. Really cool stuff.
Okay,
Same
so I'm gonna
API.
run it. Well, actually, to make sure
Request
either.
is, please render this page for me. That's the request.
So you can see I added a little date that ran as soon as I built it. It's not rerunning every time. This loader only ran at the actual build, at the actual pre-render. And if you go into your assets, you can see we've got an index.html file, which is actually welcome to. We should be able to find that. Yeah, this is the actual like index or the HTML that is served up for the homepage here.
Go over to that load. It's in a route.data right there for the loader data.
Thanks. Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. Thanks. Yeah.
And then that's for a client transition. When you're clicking links, we don't get an HTML page. We get that data, but it's just saved statically. Go to your loader for that page, and in the arguments request, you get that request in there. And this is what I was kind of trying to drive this point home. That's a request either way. It either came from your browser to your app, or it came from React Router during the build. We constructed a request and sent it. So you've got request URL, you've got headers, you've got method, but like obviously for a static page, it's just like a get request. So the methods just get. But anyway, it's really cool. It's a single paradigm. It's a request. But we can render it in multiple modes without extra API, which I'm just so ecstatic about that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I think my personal issue with SSG and all the various forms of it and acronyms was that it was like it just kind of split your app into like more paradigms and stuff, right? And like, how does this page work? How's that page work? How's this thing work? How does that? And when everything just is a request, then I'm super comfortable with it, and it's like, cool, yeah, we get the benefits of server rendering for your static content, without a bunch of new paradigms.
Because it should all just be the same workflow, right? It's the same, like you said, the same paradigm. Whether I'm rendering a static site, whether I'm pre-rendering a page, or whether I'm dynamically rendering a page, I don't want to have to context switch. I don't have to switch paradigms. It's just when, the fact that the request came in, a month from now when somebody is browsing around my site, or the request came in literally when I'm building the thing on the server, it's still just a request for a page. So from the, from the perspective of the page or the component, right? It shouldn't care. Is this build time? Am I running in a server somewhere? Like, I don't care. Just tell me what you want from me and I'll render the HTML.
So this was another reason that single fetch was really important, because it allowed us that route.data directory, or full file, if you want to open that up again over there, Brooks, in the sidebar, route.data.
Yes.
We used to like make a bunch of requests for all the loaders, but now with single fetch, it's just one thing. And we changed the URLs so they can be static URLs instead of having search params in them, like in Remix. And so single fetch enabled pre-render because now we can save an HTML file and save a data file. And now we've got static HTML and static data for client transitions.
Yep. Pretty cool. And this format is pretty weird, but it's got to serialize it somehow. You can't send a date over the wire. So
the weird, this weird format is why, if we go back to the types conversation where you have that date coming through the loader.
oh yeah.
That's why we have this weird format.
So if you look at the RSC wire format, it looks pretty weird too.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is basically, this will be interesting for the nerds. This is like, as far as I know, and there are some people on our team who understand this better than I do, but as far as I know, this is like our own serialization format for stuff going over the wire. Obviously here we're just doing data, but we could do components this way as well. In fact, you could do components and data with the RSC streaming format. It's like if you've ever looked at like the response from an RSC server, a React server, that's what they're calling it. It's like a multi-line response, and you've got components usually, or like these encoded components on each line. We'll be able to do that with TurboStream as well, but also, potentially we can do this for, since basically we're not totally coupled to RSC, if that makes sense for people. So
RSC is a lot of things, and part of that is just a format that needs to make it into the client runtime of React. So our streaming could also do that. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm basically saying that we own this piece of the app, which I'm really comfortable with, because it means, if there's a bug in it, we can fix it. If there's some extra feature that we want to add to it, we can add it without sort of waiting on React to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think the TurboStream stuff is very, very cool. Kudos to Jacob for
real.
And it's based on Rich Harris's, I forgot what his project is called.
Shout out to Rich.
I'm trying to find it.
He's got like
Jacob BB down there on the.
It was like D-value, I think was what it was called.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Yeah, D-value.
Yep.
D-get, D-value. D-get's also Rich's thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Shout out to Rich, one of my favorite programmers who
he's awesome.
Strongly disagree with on several topics, but ton of respect for that guy.
Yeah, he does great work.
Yep. Yeah, he really does.
Well, and Vite is based on the Rollup API, and he's everywhere.
He's done great stuff for sure.
Yep.
But no, I feel great about building React Router v7 on top of TurboStream, because like I said, this is a very kind of critical low-level piece that is going to be doing all of the heavy lifting when we're doing, sending components over the wire, and in general, I think just puts us in a good position, just technically speaking, because we're not, like I said, we're not coupled to the RSC implementation, but we can use everything that RSC has.
Yeah, and I'm still anticipating we're going to want to do custom stuff for targeted revalidation too, which there's a wire format for that.
Yeah, no, thank you. There's a bunch of like experimentation that we want to run in this area, right? And there's even like, potential for bugs, right, in React that we would have to say, okay, we're going to have to wait for them to fix it in this case. I think there was a bug not too long ago with, it's not stable yet, so I don't, it's not a big deal. But
it's still RC. Yeah.
But they had, it was something to do with like sending, like encrypting and decrypting data with use server sections and a function. And I forget the details of it, but if there are issues like that, and or a way that we want to.
Yeah, like I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the enclosed variables that go into a server action.
Yeah.
You want to sign those so that people can't spoof
Yes.
like CSRF stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So owning literally what we're saying is we own the protocol
Yeah.
between the server and the client. We own that layer.
Yeah.
So if there's a bug in it and we want to sign these values, or we want to encrypt them, or whatever, we can totally do that.
Yeah. If you're doing wacky stuff like server actions are doing that are like closing over scoped variables, and like you don't even like you didn't put it in a form input yourself. You didn't realize that you just sent the user ID to the browser.
Yeah.
Because you just saw an argument to a function in your code.
Yeah.
That's fine to do, but there are things that you need to do, like sign them, like just like a cookie. You got to sign it, so when it comes back to you, you know if your app made that value or not.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could just change the user ID on a server action and then like delete someone else's user from the console.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Cool. We are at time, so I don't want to rain on the party. Was there anything else that you like really wanted to demo, Brooks, or are we good?
I think those are the main ones. I think I think those are the main stuff that's new if you're coming from like Remix, like you did not have these features before. And then just to reiterate again, like our major focus right now as a team is squashing all the bugs that we experience right now, and the ones we already know about, and the ones we don't know about that other people are going to help find us, squashing all those, and then continue to improve the documentation so that just the migration paths are very clear, like all the different, there are multiple migration paths here. All the features are well described. We didn't even talk about like the ways we've updated the docs, partly because it still has some performance stuff we need to fix, but of how we're doing the API docs and everything. So
and I would add, technically, we're also now working on backporting any feature flags to Remix that you're going to need for a smoother upgrade path. Because there's some stuff that we did just like we brought over all the Remix code for the Vite plugin and the server stuff, but then we iterated in here too with like the type stuff and routes.ts and those kinds of things. And so we're going to bring those back to Remix as feature flags so that you have a smooth upgrade over to there. But
sweet.
Well, cool. Thanks everybody for tuning into the live stream. Saw a question about Dino 2. If anything, Dino 2 just brings Dino more in line with, I feel like, the rest of the JavaScript ecosystem. I don't know if either of you guys looked into Dino 2. I just briefly kind of read the post, but it sounds like they're making it a lot easier to like use NPM in Dino, which was always a huge just question mark for us running Remix on Dino, because
the import maps were cool, but it was like
we just tell you to npm install stuff, and our bundler uses node modules, uses stuff in node modules, right, and all of that. So I think if anything, Dino 2 should make it easier to run Remix on Dino, but that's just my kind of high level what I'm hoping. Cool, but thank you all for tuning in. Like I said, hopefully React Router v7 stable before the holidays, so lots of good stuff to look forward to from us before the end of the year.